Good evening. The meeting is live streaming now. I just need you to unmute the council chambers and then we can be ready to go whenever you are ready to go, Mayor Martin.
Thank you. I am ready to go now. Are we ready? Okay. Okay, council, I'm just there's a whole bunch of things that are going to be happening throughout that I've just got to keep my own head. So I do apologize if I end up saying, oh shoot, I forgot that, I got to come back. I'm going to try and do as well as I can. So I'd like to call to order this meeting for April 11th, 2020. This is a regular council meeting at 6:30 p.m. And I would like to acknowledge with respect that we are meeting on the shared traditional lands of Lukwang and speaking people. In regards to the agenda this evening, I need to make several changes, please. The first will be, I'm going to ask the council, please consider removing 6.5 off of tonight. The reason being that staff actually have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and that they will actually have more information to provide to us on hopefully next council meeting. So I would like to have 6.5 removed. And then I would like to move 6.4 to 6.1 just for discussion. And then everything else will be the same. So with those changes in the agenda, may I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Logan, seconded by Councillor Kobayashi. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. Thank you. Moving on to Mayor's message. I have a couple things to share. I will try and be as quick as I can. First of all, I just wanted to just let council know that I did sign I was requested to, and I did sign a proclamation for World's Ocean Day 2020 and the advancement of ocean conservation in Canada. The proclamation will be put up on the website, but it's just there for everybody to be aware of. I also wanted to share a correspondence that I received, just a short note to say thank you for your letter of support regarding our New Horizons for Seniors grant application for the replacement of the plinths and backboards at the greens at the Juan de Fuca Lawn Bowling Club. We are pleased to report that our application was successful and the monies have been approved. This may not have been possible without the support and concern for the future of our lawn bowling club. We greatly appreciate the efforts in making this possible and would like to extend an invitation to you, your staff, and to the rest of the council to join us in one of our open houses scheduled in April. If you require further information, I have it here for you, and I will try and get it out to all the council so that you have that. I also received another correspondence. Wishart Elementary staff and students are appreciative of the financial support from the Colwood City Council. The grant of $900 will be used to support classrooms who have for years participated in community garden programs. And they, again, thank us very much for our continued support. And then finally, I'm very proud to announce that the federal government announced today that the city of Colwood received a $3.6 million grant for the Galloping Goose overpass, which will be between Whale Road and Goldstream. What right now we're anticipating is that 2022 will be the scoping. I'm sorry, you're shaking your head. Yeah, the bridge is. Between, yeah, it'll be going, you are correct. You are correct that it is going over Island Highway. I'm trying to give the location, and that the location of the bridge will be between Whale Road and Goldstream Avenue. I apologize for the confusion. I'm not suggesting we're building the bridge that way. We are building the bridge connecting the Galloping Goose. We received $3.6 million. 2022, we will be doing the scoping. Staff are anticipating that in 2023, it will go to RFP. And it's anticipated to be about a 2-year build. So somewhere hopefully before 2026, we will actually see the bridge built. Very excited about that today. So that is a wonderful announcement. And I would just like to take a moment and say on behalf of all the council, thank you to the staff who did an amazing amount of work to actually make this happen. So thank you so much. This is something that has been aspirational for a very long time, and it's great to actually see it actualizing. So thank you. That is it for me. So let's move on to the next, which is the adoption and receipt of minutes. And this is for adoption of the regular council meeting minutes for March 28th. May I have if there's any errors, omissions, questions? If not, I will assume that we will, I have to figure out the wording, that we are receiving this with unanimous consent. And seeing that, I will so, if there's no objections, then state it's approved by unanimous consent. So I got it right. Thank you. Then I will look to the Emergency Planning Committee meeting minutes of January 18th. Are there any questions, errors, omissions? If not, if there's no objections, then I will state it is received by unanimous consent. We will then move to public participation. And unfortunately, I have a bit of a thing to read for public. Actually, do we have, first of all, before I read all this, do we have anyone online wishing to speak?
I believe we have 2 people online that are wishing to speak.
Okay, thank you. Then I do need to read this. Additional information has been received regarding the development variance permit of 1764 Island Highway and was circulated to council prior to this meeting. During public participation, members of the public will be provided an opportunity to present concerns or ask questions of council. Comments pertaining to the following matters that have been subject to a public hearing are prohibited at this meeting. Bylaw number 1898, cannabis retail, 1905 Souk Road, bylaw number 1908, CD 31, 3554 Ryder Heshdell, bylaw number 1912, CD 32, 791 Drummond Way, bylaw number 1913, CD 33, 2350 Souk Road, bylaw number 1919, CD 22, 3460 and 3461 Veterans Memorial Parkway. Under the authorization of the council procedural bylaw number 1890, 20 minutes is allocated for public participation. Each participant will be granted 1 opportunity to speak up to 2 minutes. We ask that you please provide your name and street to confirm residency or property ownership. Colwood residents and or property owners will be provided the first opportunity to speak. Debate with or by any members or staff is not permitted. The following conduct will not be accommodated: outbursts or criticism aimed at individuals or groups, rude or offensive language, disruptive delay of the conduct of our business, questioning the motives of any person, expressing a negative opinion about the personality or character of any person, and speaking disrespectfully about or acting aggressively towards any person. When your allocated time is up, your microphone will be muted. We ask that you please respect other speakers and remain within that 2-minute time period. Staff, I will look to you to, and I'm sorry, I knew I was going to miss something, so I'm going to go back to the beginning and just acknowledge that we have 6 people sitting at the council table tonight. The only person who isn't able to be in person is Councillor Jansen, but Councillor Jansen is online. Councillor Jansen, could you just please verbalize that you can hear us and that you're with us?
I can hear you, thank you, and I apologize for my tardiness.
Thank you. And so with that, I will now go back to staff to please introduce the first person wishing to speak.
Okay, I believe we have Ben Mycroft, who's wishing to speak at public participation.
Oh, hi there. I don't necessarily need to speak. I'm just here in case there's questions later, which I don't even know if it's appropriate tonight. So just here watching and on in case I'm needed.
Okay, so we have also, we have a couple of people here tonight from WA Architects, and I'm not sure which one wanted to speak. I didn't have that clearly stated in my notes here. So whoever would like to speak on this item or at public participation, can you please unmute yourself and turn on your camera?
Good evening, Mayor Martin, council members and staff. I was really just here to answer any questions as well. I think that our write-up and response to our previous meeting was done in the letter response that we provided.
Great, thank you. I will look to the chamber then. Is there any members of the public wishing to speak before I move on to the first agenda item? I don't think we do. So I'm going to now move to, which was 6.4, which is our new 6.1. This is Jill Collington, our senior planner, regarding the consideration of terms of reference and the release of funding to the JDF PACs. Ms. Collington? Or, excuse me, Mr. Brohill, I guess you're speaking to it.
Thank you. Yes, I'm taking this one for Jill tonight.
Sorry, Mr. Brohill, I'm just going to actually, Councillor Baxter, could you go to your mic? I just need you to declare it, your conflict, please. Oh, I'm sorry, and I'll let you speak.
Yes, I declare a conflict as I am married to the president of the society.
Great, thank you. So we're going to excuse Councillor Baxter for this item, and then we'll have him come back afterwards. Sorry, Mr. Borkill, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On February 14th of this year, Council resolved that $30,000 be allocated in the 2022 budget to the Juan de Fuca Performing Arts Center Society to advance the concept of a performing arts center in Colwood, with the release of the funding subject to Council approval of a terms of reference. For your consideration tonight, please find the terms of reference attached to the staff report before you as Appendix 1. Staff are recommending that the terms of reference be approved at this time. And representing the Juan de Fuca Performing Arts Center Society this evening is Ms. Judith Collington. She will offer you a summary of the terms of reference and is available for questions. Also virtually attending this evening is the Juan de Fuca Performing Arts Center Society consultants, Michael Heaney and Hillary Meredith of CNO Advisory Group. I now ask that Ms. Collington be given the opportunity to make her presentation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mercy. Good evening, everybody. Judith Collington, President of the Juan de Fuca Performing Arts Center Society. And as Ian mentioned, our consultants, Michael Heaney and Hillary Meredith, are online. And we also have Al Lehman, who's our Vice President, in the audience. And I know that several of our directors are listening online as well. So just a reminder for folks who may be listening in, we're the group who's trying to work towards the development of a community arts and culture center for the West Shore. This is not something that we're doing for us. It is something that we're working on behalf of you, the community leaders, all of the people in the community who keep reminding us that there is a lack of community-oriented arts and culture space, and it's a big gap in the health and well-being of this place. So we're here to help you fulfill the goals in your strategic plan for vibrancy, for economic revitalization of Colwood City Centre, for a community that's welcoming and inclusive. Yes, no? Oh, thank you. Is that the right screen? It is the right screen. Okay. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you, Council, for your very generous contribution from the grant and aid. Thank you also for your recommendations that you passed back in February, showing some strong support for the concept of a community-oriented arts and culture centre. And also thank you for including 30,000 in your budget. So I hope you're all excited about the possibilities for this, because I certainly am. Your recommendations are leading us to work on about 4 different fronts over this summer, which collectively will give you, or possibly the next council, the information you need to make your decisions on how best to move this project forward. So the first thing, obviously, is the work with the consultants. So you have terms of reference that you're looking at today. This gives us information to better understand what should be built? What should be included in the Arts and Culture Centre? So do we need a soft theatre? How big should it be? Do we need music rooms? How many? How big, etc.? What is it that we need now, today? The Gateway visioning process and other space-related discussions are going to be providing additional guidance around where to build, whether there might be other facilities co-located with it. Thirdly, as requested, we will be looking further at the funding model and the role that other West Shore municipalities will play in this process. And we'll also be working over this summer to create greater awareness of this project and its many benefits. So you have a terms of reference in front of you. The consultant's work, as outlined, is really providing essential information for decision-making. The feasibility report that was prepared by Rick Schick is now over 10 years old, and a lot has changed. There are some new groups in play. There are some groups who no longer exist. COVID has changed the arts considerably. There are proposals for other venues in Langford and Victoria. They're different from our proposed centre, but they will have an overall influence on what we need to be looking at. So we need to understand how this should change what we're planning to build. Who are going to be the core users of the facility? What are their needs and desires for spaces? Who are the audiences for this facility? What are their needs and desires? And the recommendations from the consultant study will include an updated building and space program, so the kind of the what, consideration of governance models, and then high-level cost estimates. Just so that you know, one piece of work we have already completed under this is a collaboration with Royal Roads University. So in February and March of this year, we worked with the entire cohort of the Royal Roads 2022 Leadership Challenge MBA group. We provided them with a series of questions. They all looked into them. They were very enthusiastic about the project. We're going to be incorporating the outcomes into the updated feasibility study. And I look forward to an opportunity to present the results of this work to Council. Just as a side note, so Royal Roads University, they're midlife professionals. They come from incredibly diverse backgrounds. These are very experienced individuals. They put in something like more than 750 hours of time into this project. And when we asked the prof what she reckoned that this was valued at, she said, oh, it's about $80,000. So if you're thinking and asking yourselves, how are we going to leverage the $30,000 from Colwood? I think that's a pretty good start. So we see this report as providing a number of benefits. So re-engagement with the arts community and the community at large. It's been tough to do that during COVID, so I'm really looking forward to doing that. Sound information for decisions, together with all of the other pieces that we're working from. Making sure we are meeting community needs and desires. Making sure we're setting the stage for economic and social vibrancy in city centre. And as I mentioned, a number of significant in-kind contributions. So you have one more, thank you. We have a staff recommendation in front of you. I just wanted to remind you that we have an exceptional team working with us to deliver this work. You've got their brief bios in the terms of reference. These folks are leaders in their field. They have given us an exceptional price for the quality and quantity of work that they're delivering. And they've already contributed to the project through their support to the Royal Roads University Leadership Challenge. So just a nice reminder that Colwood is getting way more than $30,000 of value for this funding. Just, I wanted to finish on this slide. These are, you'll remember we came and spoke to you well over a year ago now, and we had something like 125 letters of support from people. These are quotes that come from the community. It really is something that there is strong support out there. We need to get this moving. The consultants are online, and staff and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So, Council, what I will do is, before I look for a motion, I will look to any questions in regards to the terms of reference. Councillor Kobayashi.
I thought I'll give it a kickstart here. Thank you very much, Judith. And believe you, when I say this right now, I do respect all the time and effort that the society has performed over the many years that this has been ongoing. And so I've got questions, mainly because I've got concerns. I don't want to be the negative Nancy here by any means, but I have some questions that just are sitting in my craw right now and bother me. And before I could make a real good decision on this. And I tried to research this as much as I could. Just from the people that are working on this, yes, you do have a highly qualified team. But I know I try to find out who's actually built a performing arts center, because it's like me. I came from the aircraft industry, for example. I knew how to run the operations, but if someone told me build a hangar, don't ask me. I know what it has to sort of look like, but I've never ever built a hangar myself personally. So, in all these perspectives that I see here, I mean, I read through them carefully, and I was trying to figure out who's actually built one before. And the only reason I'm asking is because I tried to research this as much as I could, and I found something similar to what you want to do. And you can tell me I'm full of it, but I looked at the new Westminster facility, Anvil Theatre, that was built. And that's approximately the same seats, about 350 seats. Original budget started at about $35 million, and it ended up at $88.9 million. And it was a concept that you originally went down. To tell you the truth, it was both a performing arts center, and then they built 6 stories of offices, and they managed to sell that part of it for about 35 million. So they recouped some of it. So it was between 55 and 60 million dollars. And when I researched this, I went, holy mackerel, there's a lot of variables. It depends on what you want to do with the theater, right? If you want to build a kitchen in there, if you have a stage, if you have wings on the stage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I just went, geez, I have no idea what you're trying to do here. And I have no idea, the last figure that I remember seeing was $30 million. I think with the construction costs that have gone up now, that's just way out to lunch right now. So, I guess where I've got my concerns really are, I know this is not, you said this is excluded from scope, funding and fundraising strategy. I mean, how about the model? Because before the mayor picks up the phone and says, hey, fellow West Shore mayors, we want you to come in on this. Some of the fundamental questions say, hey, rough order of magnitude, like, and how are they going to be raising the money? We can't answer any of those questions at this point in time. So I would have thought a great deliverable would have been to have at least the model on how you're thinking. Like, is it 25% provincial money, 25% federal money, fundraising for some portion, and then you're going to stick your hand out to the city and say another portion? I would have thought that would have been an ideal deliverable to have in it. So we have an idea of what we're getting ourselves into, because right now I have no idea. And that goes along with, so there's the capital model, and then there's the operating model. Same question again. We've all said, hey, we will use, we were basically in agreement that we're going to have to subsidize this like every other theater in Greater Victoria. No one gets around it. Not one of these performing arts centers that I know of, and according to the experts that are involved with this that I question, none of them actually turn a profit, if you want to call it that. They all are run on operating losses, and then it's subsidized by the cities. Again, we don't know what this is going to look like, so it's hard to even price this, but to even have what the operating model is, what are taxpayers, because that's the big question. We're basically the board of directors for our taxpayers. So, what does that look like? And I have no idea. I can't answer those questions when people ask me those questions right now. And I was hoping that would be, even rough order magnitude at this time. So we have an idea. I know you gave us a range, but that range was based on what's out there and existing, but we could be totally wrong. It might be less, it might be way more. I don't know. So I guess that's another part that really bothers me. And I was hoping that would be a deliverable. That's what I was really hoping. So it's, and the other difficulty I have, it's like the other projects that I personally work on right now. When I go to government, the provincial government right now, we say, here's a project. We come in with a fully loaded business plan on it, and it could be high level at the point in time. And then generally we have a specific ask. We know what we're getting ourselves into. They have rough order magnitude numbers of capital operating costs. And generally we're asking the government for something, but it's specific, but we prepare it. So the difficulty that I'm having with all this again is that in a sense, what we're doing right now is we're not really not performing a governance model on this right now, because we are in fact funding the study, which we're going to approve ourselves, and then we're paying for it. And it's generally something that I would have expected, maybe the society to have already done for us at, at some level. And then we're sort of going, yeah, we agree with this, we approve of this, and but right now it seems like it's not the work being done by ourselves. We still have to use staff time, but we're paying for it. And I just don't. There's something wrong here in my own head, because I'm not used to this at all, and this really, really bothers me from a deliverable point of view. So I was hoping that, to see that, at least to see that as a minimum, because I know we can't get carried away with the deliverables because it's only $30,000. And I know that. But I looked at some of the deliverables, like, for example, the review of previous survey interview results, local community arts groups, demographics of regions and areas. I just went, that's a moot point, really, at this point in time. It's something maybe that can be done later. But it is what it is, and there's not much value in it. But there's a few things here that, like I said, I just went, is that a value? I'd really be more interested in, because you're giving us something to grab hold of so that we can have proper conversations with everybody. And the last deliverable, what I'd like to see, so I'm asking for those two deliverables. And the third one is really, and you covered this sort of in the terms of reference, but not so much in the deliverables, is looking at what are all the options that are out there right now. And I've heard lots of things, well, that won't work and that venue won't work. But for example, we've got the Dogwood Auditorium in Royal Roads. We have the theater at Royal Bay Theater, Royal Bay High School, I should say. The potential Langford theater that's going in. I know that's big, 1250, but I've been told right now, if we decide, should we decide to even look at that option, it's early in the stage where they can sort of do something to make it smaller if we wanted to use it. So it's just having all the options on the table and then saying, maybe this is the best solution. We're trying to get to the same place you are right now, believe me. So I don't want to be like this person that says I'm against this, because, personally, I have, with my own personal money, I have donated to arts and culture, on the Colwood side right now, but I have personally. So if anyone says that I'm against this, that is just wrong. There's so much money at risk right now. I just want to make sure, we're doing our due diligence on this. So the comments and questions in there, if you care to respond to any of that, Judith, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kobayashi. Through the chair, there were a number of different points in there, and I will ask our consultants to respond to a couple of them. But just, you asked about the fundraising. One of the things that we've been doing over the last year and a half is we interviewed 3 different professional fundraising companies. We have had multiple conversations with both the federal and provincial MLA MP. They are both very supportive. We've always had the model, which is typical for a venue like this, that it's sort of 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So it's sort of a 1/3 federal, 1/3 provincial, and a 1/3 through private donations. And so the fundraising strategy focused around the private donations. And excuse me, when we had those conversations, you know, the folks that we talked to felt that we're within the right ballpark. Having said that, we can't do any serious fundraising until we know what we're going to build. This work by the consultants is very much around the what we're going to build. We need to do that. You know, as a business person, you know, you wouldn't be reopening your coffee shop without understanding what the current market is. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to understand what the current market is, and that includes what's going on elsewhere. So it's really important to understand that, you know, are we building the right thing at the right place at the right time? Maybe the consultants will come back and say, you need to be looking at something very different, or there is no need for this. That's a possible. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's possible. So, you know, why would we take it further before really understanding what the need is right now? You asked about operation and governance. It's something that Rick Sheck touched on his report. It's something that Giovanni Malcolm talked about in his report from Royal Roads. It is something that these consultants are going to be touching on as well. They are also responsible, as well as providing the building program, they're also responsible for providing us with high-level costs. We obviously can't get into the detailed level of cost until we've got a detailed program. One of the pieces that we're missing just with this study is the where, and that's going to influence a lot of other things. You know, are we building something standalone? Are we co-locating with another facility, whatever that may be? These are all unknown, so we have to get the basic information before we can move forward. So I think we are respectfully following what you're talking about. We need to understand what we're doing, and this is an important part of what we're doing. With your permission, Mr. Mayor, what I'd love to do is to pass over to Michael Heaney, and he can talk about his experience working with the construction, and also Hilary Meredith and Howard Jang.
Sure. No, I'm happy to talk to that. The consultant team is made up of myself and Hilary, and also Howard Jang, who unfortunately is not available today. But we bring a kind of a range of experience. So my background is as an architect, and I practiced for over 30 years with Bing Tom Architects, and where I was the managing principal, and one of our areas of expertise was cultural facilities, performing arts centers in particular, and we built a number of them in Canada and the US, and the sort of highest profile ones, as some of you may know, is the Chan Center for the Performing Arts at UBC and Arena Stage in Washington, DC. Both of those facilities had multiple venues in it. And so I'm well aware of the challenges that are involved in sort of designing and building these very, very complex projects. Howard brings to the team a tremendous experience as an arts administrator. He's been the general manager of a number of arts groups, and is currently the executive director of Art Spring on Salt Spring Island. And so he brings very sort of practical side in terms of what's involved in running these theaters, and what kind of facilities you really need that will be optimized from an operations point of view. So as we get into this, as we sort of try and define what the facility should be, and where we'll be doing it with that experience of having built them before and operated them before. So I believe that that we'll be bringing that sort of experience to the table.
Yeah, just thank you. So you answered all my questions. The other one that's still bothering me a little bit is still, so in fact, the city is paying for its own, for the business plan then? Is that how this is working then? Because like I said, it's unusual to me, because everything that I've done right now for government in presentations is that we fund it. We get the funding and we go fund it, and we produce something that you know the provincial government in this case looks at, right? And they have all their experts check it all over, and in this case we're actually paying for the product that we're going to be reviewing. It's just very strange to me. It's just not what I'm used to in governance. It's not proper governance in my viewpoint. So I don't know if you want to answer that one. It's just, so is it true? I mean, we are paying for our own product then?
Absolutely. And I will go back to where I started my presentation tonight, which is we are doing the work of the city in terms of helping you to implement your strategic plan, your OCP. This is not for personal benefit. This is for the benefit of the entire community. The money that Colwood is putting in is an investment. You look again and again and again at the value, and I'm looking forward to bringing to you the results of the Royal Road students' work, because one of the challenges we put to them is, tell us about the benefits, direct, indirect, social, economic, aligned with Arts and Culture Centre. And they gave us a great deal of information, which I'm still sifting through. So, you know, the city paid for the Schick-Shiner report. The city paid for parks management plans, which, because they're investing in facilities that the city has. It's just part of what a city does.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Parkinson.
Thank you, Mayor. Listened to my colleague, Councillor Kobayashi, and strongly agree with him on a number of those points. Where I differ is the sort of timing and process. Like Councillor Kobayashi, I'm concerned how far we take this as a city initiative with city funding it completely before we get involved with the rest of the communities in the West Shore, and finalize who's in and who's out, what that looks like. Those of you who remember the last presentation we had in the report, I think it was from the CRD. I mean, one of the lines that struck me out of that was, the granting agencies need to see a combined approach, that you can't just have 6 people from 6 different municipalities next to each other all saying we want. There has to be some coordination going, and that will involve coordination with what Langford's doing. So yes, I do encourage the mayor to carry on talking to the rest of the mayors and seeing how they can reel them in. And I recognize that the report, like we're talking about here tonight, is a vital step. I mean, it's going to have at least some idea of the concepts and the costs and the whys that will make a conversation when you're talking to other politicians in the region, or at least have some substance to them. So I think it's a necessary step. Yeah, it'd be in an ideal world, it would be cost shared amongst all the municipalities, but I think Colwood is prepared to do this. The amount of money is significant, but it's comparable to what we spent on planning for one of the parks. They're in the same sort of order of magnitude. It's a fraction of what the cost was for the pre-feasibility study of the ferry. So it costs money. We need information. If we do believe that arts and culture are an important part of our community going forward, I can't see another way myself. All the things that Doug asked for would be great, but let's walk before we run. Let's not look for a 400-page, very expensive report that analyzes all sorts of things today and see what the future holds. I like this approach. I've cautioned people in this chamber before about the difficulty of fundraising out here in the West Shore, and I think that's why Colwood's paying for it, and our society hasn't raised the money, and so be it. Let's deal with reality. So I'm certainly prepared to say that everybody involved on the other side of the table knows and understands more about arts facilities, planning and construction and operation than I ever will. So let's hear what they have to say. I'm certainly prepared, if it's appropriate, I'd be prepared to move the motion. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. So I've got a mover. Do I have a seconder? So thank you. Seconded by Councillor Day. I will go to discussion on the motion. Do you have anything else, Councillor Day?
Thank you. So I guess, it's easy to be concerned, but it's also part of what the community has been telling me for actually almost 20 years is needed out here. And I think it's really important that Colwood listen to those needs before. We did extensive consultation with arts groups all the way from Soup to Sydney. When I started investigating the arts, I met with and toured the proponents of the Mary Winspear Centre in Sydney, the Port Theatre in Nanaimo, the theatre in Chemainus, and none of those arts venues would exist if somebody hadn't taken a leap of faith to make it happen. So I recognize that there's lots of pitfalls along this road that we're on, but there's also tremendous potential for benefits to this community. So when my children were small, they had to go to Langford to participate in theater programs. And as they got bigger, they were at the universities and at Camosun, and those are still important aspects of their lives to this day. So there's a lot to be said for being able to envision an outlet for art in our community. So I think it's time. I think we, you know, to me, it seemed like a tremendous amount of money the first time we did a study, but we can't put that book on the shelf and say, that's it, we're done now, we just have to wait for the money. We need to probably, we're going to have to re-envision ourselves every decade from here on forward. We're going to deal with climate change and travel options, and people are still going to need a way to express themselves creatively and find joy with others. So I'm very supportive of us getting to a place that provides a smart answer to a long-term problem. So we're going to have partners in other parts of the capital region who are doing different aspects, and we're going to have to find ways to partner with them and be friends with our neighbors and share and enjoy all that we can create for our community to participate in. So I think it's definitely has all kinds of opportunities to go off the rails. That's my experience of art. But hopefully something really wonderful will come forward. And even if that doesn't happen as quickly as we'd like, our children who are watching us will be saying to us, okay, that didn't work, but we really need this. And they will help us refine this. So thanks, I'm in.
Thank you. Councillor Jansen, I see you, but I'm just going to speak first and then I'll come to you. I just want to be clear. We are not talking about the $30,000. The $30,000 was approved on February 14th to be allocated through our draft budget. This evening's discussion is really about the terms of reference. And if this council is supportive of the terms of reference that this is suggested to move through, if people are looking at page 28 of 130 in their agenda, it basically outlines what those terms of references are regarding the executive summary, the goal of the study, the objective, the review, and so on. I'm comfortable with those objectives in the terms of reference, and so I will be supporting the motion this evening. Councillor Jansen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question of Ms. Cullington. Is this going to be a Colwood centric report, or is it going to encompass the entire West Shore so we can show Langford that what their needs are as well?
Through the chair to Councillor Jansen. Thank you for the question. It's an interesting one, but it seems to keep coming up and it seems to bother people. in the same way that we have the Wandafuka Recreation Centre that's situated in Colwood, but that serves the entire West Shore and beyond. This will be a centre that is situated in Colwood and serves the entire West Shore and beyond. So think of it as a West Shore facility that is domiciled in Colwood.
Sorry, maybe you misunderstood. My question was about the study that's to be done.
The study will look at maybe I'll let Michael respond to this as well, but the study will do the breadth that it needs to do. It's not just going to look at Colwood, because it's not just Colwood who's going to be using this facility. It has to be broader. So
I appreciate that, and I flipped through and I just didn't see any language in there that was, we're going to look at the broader West Shore. And so when the mayor does go to discuss the results with View Royal, for instance, we have some idea of what their deficits are in the way of the arts, so that we can bring them on board. I appreciate that. We did support this during the budget. I did as well, and it does take a champion to push this forward, Judith. And you keep going like the ever ready bunny. And I think we all appreciate your passion for this. And we don't know what we don't know till we figure out what it is we didn't know. And the Schick Shiner report is aged. I get that, and our community has blossomed, and we need some more data. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kobayashi.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry, for some reason.
Hello?
There, you are speaking.
Just your worship, just a clarification though, the 30,000, the release of the $30,000 was subject to the approval of the terms of reference. So yeah, so that's fine. So I guess I respect what everyone has said right now tonight. I really do. And but my concern right now is that it's just something that's just sitting in the back of my head right now. It's just that I was hoping that you'd come in and say, hey, look, we've got tacit support right now in writing from the neighboring municipalities. That would have helped a lot right now in my own decision making, because then your cost estimates right now, the ranges that you have for ongoing operating costs support from the city are absolutely valid. I wouldn't have an issue with that. But if that support isn't there and we're doing this alone, I'm going to tell you, I would guesstimate that those costs will be double. So that's another thing that's just sitting there, and I just don't know why that legwork hasn't been done already. It's just beyond me, my comprehension. To say that, look, we talked to View, we talked to Highlands, Machosen, Langford, and look at, there's tacit support for this right now. You know what? You would have made me feel so happy right now that it would have been a no-brainer for me, but I've never heard that right now, and I'm getting mixed messages out there. And so that's my number one point. My number 2 point is it's interesting that Councillor Day is right. There's generally support out there for Performing Arts Center. There really is. And when it's asked in that question, and I know Councillor Day had made a motion before about, maybe it's a referendum question, and I didn't support at the time, because if we ask the question, do you support a Performing Arts Center? I can tell you what the results are going to be right now. But if I ask the question differently and said, do you support a Performing Arts Center? And by the way, this is going to mean so many bucks per head, I think you'll get a different response, a totally different response. And so that's why I didn't support it, because there was no context around the motion. So I just want to make sure I point that out, that we do say that right now, and I won't disagree with it, because I'm one big fan. But if it's going to cost me an arm and leg to do this by ourselves, and I just can't see this, we just don't have the population base to do this, and so that's worrisome to me. Anyways, that's the only points I'm making. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Councillor Kobayashi, looking at the terms of reference, is there something that you would like to add or change? Because we could certainly do that.
Yes, it did. I saw you taking notes there, Judith. What I had requested, just a couple of things that I felt could be added, and we can delete.
Sorry, Councillor Kobayashi, we'll need a motion, and then because this will be ours. This belongs to this table right now.
Okay.
So you can make a motion, and then I can look for a seconder, and then we can discuss it at this table.
Okay, I'd like to make the motion that first of all, that I believe this is unnecessary. You know, the review point 1, 2, 3, the fourth one under outcome and key deliverables. I think it's a moot point. I don't see value in that. It's already been covered by the Schick and Shine report. Yeah, it could be updated, but you know what? It's moot to me. But what I'd love to see in this is a high level, the high level funding model for this right now. So when I'm talking about the funding model, I'm talking about the both capital and operating. I'd love to see that as a deliverable, because it gives us something to talk to other municipalities with.
So, Councillor Kobayashi, no, it's all right, but I'd like to have the motion, and then I'll have you. I'll let you argue it.
That's the motion.
Okay,
That's
so the motion is.
I'd love to add that the funding model, both operating and capital, be added as a deliverable, a high level. And I don't need the detailed thing right now, but a high level one, so we understand what we're getting ourselves.
Sorry, I don't have a seconder yet. So I'm sorry, I'm just writing.
High level funding model.
Oh, high level funding.
Capital and operating.
Okay, capital and operating. Okay, do I have a seconder to that motion? Councillor Day has seconded it. So I will now come back to you, and you can argue it out, Councillor Kobayashi. Yeah, so unless you have it, do you have anything else?
I think
motivate. Thank you.
As I said before, it's going to be the basis of, we're talking about incrementally doing things right now. I think it would be a great thing to have, because we're able to discuss it with all the municipalities, because that's the first question that's being asked. Well, yeah, we sort of support this, but what's the funding model? Like, I understand what you just said right now. You said on the capital side, it's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I heard that loud and clear. And so that's high level from that, but operating, what's that look like right now? I have no idea. What's that look like? And it's going to be very difficult, because I kind of sort of looked at that and I thought, well, they're certainly going to have a lot of details on what they want to design here, but they must have it. They must have an idea, so that a high level, estimate can be done. Is it a $30 million facility, or is it a $60 million facility?
Thank you. Thank you. So, Ms. Collington, it sounded like you just wish to speak to the motion very, very quickly. So I'll allow, and then I'll go to Councillor Day.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just did want to point out that the work that Councillor Kobayashi is looking for is actually in the list. If you look at the last page with the table, the 4th item from the bottom says develop a general estimate of high-level projected operating costs and revenue based on a typical year. And there is a ballpark capital cost estimate as well. And again, to reiterate that the work with other municipalities is happening in tandem.
It just needs to be elaborated on, because what I'm picturing here, when you say annual operating costs, it's one big number. But what is the proposal? Like, how is it distributed out? Like, that's missing there right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Day.
Thank you. I guess from my point of view, Colwood has always been a much smaller municipality than it is now. We're growing quickly, and I think it is important to have a ballpark of what the vision would cost. And then it may be that depending on how things are going with the federal, provincial governments that our vision will develop over time. There may be some things that are low-hanging fruit and some things that will come as we get further along. I think what's really most important is that we have a very well-rounded community that has amenities that suit all different types of people. And I think the work that will happen in this next 6 months is going to make a big difference to kind of the positioning of which things should come first, and will give us some better ideas from other partners in the region of where their interests lie and which things they might want to partner with us on. So I think it's really good to put our questions straight up right in front of you so you know what we're looking for. And then we have a much better chance of informing the community and eventually having that referendum, because I don't think we can plan to spend money without partnering with the community so that they know what's coming.
Thank you. I'm going to cut to Councillor Parkinson in a moment. This is in regards to the amendment to the motion, which is to add the high and level funding regarding the capital and operational. I feel as though we're spending a lot of time talking about and agreeing with everything, because we've heard from Ms. Cullington that she agrees with us that this is so. But I will continue on. Councillor Parkinson.
I think I've been told, keep it short, which is fine. I guess I'm a little concerned in that it seems to me like we're getting an awful lot of work out of these people for $30,000, and we should be very grateful for them. But I think Councillor Kobayashi's onto something, and we're not looking for a lot of work to say, if the capital costs are about this, which I think was going to come out of this, and if we divide it using this formula, and the city has formulas for the rec center and the library, and other, pick one that's all assessment or all population or whatever might make sense. Here's how it would spread out amongst the communities, and here's the same calculation for the operating costs. So hopefully we're talking of, minimal number of hours of extra work here, not a lot. And on that basis, I'm going to support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any other speakers, so I will call the question on the amendment. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes, so that becomes part of the main motion. Discussion further on the main motion? I'm seeing none, so I will call the question. Those in opposition? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Mayor. This question is through the Mayor to Judith. Can we still deliver that, what I just asked for that price?
I believe the answer is yes, because it's already in there. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Councillor Kobayashi? No, okay. I will then call the question on the main motion. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. Thank you. Could Councillor Logan, could you please ask Councillor Baxter to come back? We are going to now go back to 6.1, which is our now new 6.2, which this is the, sorry, I'm going to wait until they come back. Let me, I did not. So let's, well, I did do, no, I didn't say the near and long-term agendas. You're correct. So we can jump back to that. Is there any questions, errors, omissions? No. Then I will assume that the long-term and near-term are adopted unanimously. Thank you for catching that, Councillor Day. Moving on to 6.2, which is Royal Bay Latoria South Parks Plan. This is a recommendation from the April 4th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting. May I get the motion and then we can go to discussion. Moved by Councillor Baxter, seconded by Councillor Kobayashi. Looking for discussion. Is there anyone looking to discuss? Okay, then I will call the question. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Day.
Apologies. I just had wanted to ask, there was a number of items that as presented, we discussed about, we don't really know yet how, for example, the amphitheater would be maintained. And I just wanted to ask staff if that would be coming back to council with some further detail at some point in time, perhaps even choices on some of the parks plan with regard to, what our commitment will be on the maintenance side.
Through your worship, in response, staff, as part of the recommendation, will be bringing a report back to council regarding the budget implications of the maintenance of these facilities, and certainly the amphitheater to be one of those. I should clarify that, and I know there was a reference to that image, but that's simply an image, and that staff will be spending more detailed work around exactly what form that amphitheater would take, and maintenance would certainly be part of that consideration.
Okay. So I just didn't want to blanket say yes without knowing that the community will have an opportunity to offer input and have some discussion about how we would like to see it.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other hands, so I will call the question. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. Before we move on to our next item, I just wanted to point out that Mr. Carlson's that was the last time he will ever be standing up at the mic. This is his last day with us, or not today, is not the last council meeting that he will be attending with an agenda item. So I just wanted to point out that Dennis has been with the city since 2014. And before that, he did come from the city of Victoria. He has also been our emergency planning. He sat on our emergency planning committee and was in the role of the deputy emergency planning coordinator. On behalf of the city, Dennis, I would like to say thank you, and thank you for the work that you provided. And yeah, and to be honest, I was very happy that Councillor Day asked the question, because it was nice to get you up at the mic one last time. So it was well done, Councillor Day. And thank you for all the work you've done. So we're going to now move on to 6.2. This is a zoning amendment application, RZ 21014 for 1752 Island Highway. This is a recommendation from the April 4th Committee of the Whole meeting. May I get a mover and seconder, and then I can go to discussion. A move by Councillor Baxter, seconded by Councillor Logan. Discussion? Councillor, I will go to Councillor Baxter first, since he was the mover, and then I'll go to Councillor Parkinson and Kobayashi.
I note that there's an item that was appended to the agenda giving different solutions for solving the difficulty with the courthouse property access. And therefore, I would like to move that we ask staff to approach the owners of 1764 Old Island Highway to see if they're agreeable to linking the two parking lots to solve the problem.
So I'm going to look to staff. Is that an amendment to the bylaws before us? Is that a separate motion that I should look to? What would be the best? Oh, it is in the recommendation. Oh, so
it? I totally missed that.
Okay. So it looks like it's already there. If it's already there, then it's great. Then okay. I'll just make sure that Councillor Baxter is comfortable with that.
No, that is what we discussed at committee, but that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm talking about a link to 1764. which is the other side.
Which is the courthouse?
No, 1764 is the development with the 3 rows of buildings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the PC Urban. Okay. Okay. So I guess I don't have. Should it be a separate or should it be part of this motion? It should be a separate motion. So I will come back to you as a separate motion. Is that it, Councillor? Okay, Councillor Parkinson.
So apologies, Mayor. One of the things I was going to bring up was that we did have the architect from WA Architects, I think there, suggest a letter had come in that I hadn't seen because I guess I hadn't checked my emails all afternoon. So anyway, that's been dealt with. But there is one issue. When we talked about this last time, I made a motion about the public walkway with lights. And at the time, I did not include fencing. There was fencing included in the staff recommendation, but the fencing seemed to me that it was proposed between the walkway and the live work units. And I was unclear about it, what was happening there. So I've had some time now to look at the site and to talk to Yasmin a little bit. And if I could, I'd like to make an amendment to the motion to actually to put the fence back in. I think it would be separating the courthouse and this project is a good thing to do. And so if we could go to item D on, item D that currently reads, the owner shall at his own expense and to the satisfaction of the Director of Engineering complete or provide security and enter into a servicing agreement to design and construct a 2.5 meter wide public walkway with lights in a statutory right of way by the south side of the site to the western boundary. And then to that, I would like to add and a fence along the south property line.
Okay, and a fence. So the addition is in a fence on the southern property line.
Correct.
Do I have a seconder to that motion? Moved by, seconded by Councillor Day. So Councillor Kobayashi and Councillor Day, I'm recording you too, but I'm gonna clear you just for a second because we need to go to a discussion just on that motion or on the amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Councillor Baxter? Councillor Baxter on the amendment.
Sorry, I'm not clear why we want the fence.
Okay, hold on. Councillor Parkinson?
Actually, the fence was always there. I just took it out. So and I'm locating it along the south property line. I think there's some consideration initially by staff was that there would be the property line, the sidewalk, and then a fence between the walkway and the building itself. Now, those are live work units, I understand. I don't know why you'd separate those from the sidewalk access. So the fence didn't make sense where it was initially talked about. So I'm moving it to the south property line to separate the two sites. I think is a nice thing to have. That's why we're doing it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Baxter.
I'm still not clear why we want the fence. I know that it was in there before and you took it out and you now want to put it back, but I want to know why we want to put it back, because I don't think the city has any need for that fence, and therefore it should be up to the property owners whether they want to put it up. That's my opinion, unless you've got a reason why the city wants the fence there.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands, so I'm going to call the question. This is just on the amendment. Councillor,
my apologies, Mr. Mayor. We have 2 amendments on the table right now.
no, I only have one. The first one I'm coming back to.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is just in regards to adding the fence along the southern line. Those in all, oh, Councillor Day.
Sorry, I was trying to be efficient, but I think there are considerable issues when you have that we've created this statutory right of way. And I think we don't want to run a sidewalk all the way up to the boundary of someone else's property without putting a fence up, because if you don't put the fence up, then you're inviting people to trespass. So I think the fence makes sense for that reason.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other hands. Councillor Baxter.
Sorry, but I think what the Councillor Day has just stated is that any property where there isn't a fence between the two, and yet there is access on either side. You could walk across a lawn, or you could walk on a parking lot, or you could walk on the sidewalk, is automatically an invitation to trespass. I can't see that. If either side, if either property doesn't want people to cross the property line, then they're free to put up a fence. But I don't see why the city wants a fence there. I don't think the city cares if people cross that property line. I don't see why they would.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Mr. McGrath because I see his hand up, and then I'll go to Councillor Parkinson. David?
Yes, just trying to get my video on. Doesn't seem to be going on, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. One of the things that we did send was just a cross section of that SRW in the letter that we did send. One of the issues, or one of the reasons why we put that walkway through there, was to maintain those trees there right now on the property line, and some are within our property. And so the idea was to have a 3-foot buffer, landscape buffer, then the sidewalk, and then the outdoor space and hedging for the live work. So by putting or asking us to put a fence within the property line, it's going to be going through where the trees are right now. I hope that clears it up.
Thank you for that clarification. Councillor Parkinson.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch in there to unpack, but Michael, you and I have worked on developments where there's sidewalk or trails going through, and the city standard is a fence on either side of a walkway through a development. So it's not unheard of to have a fence to separate these properties. I'm fully prepared to give the applicant latitude. You know, does it go right along the property line? If he's got this thing at a 1.5 meter landscape buffer, maybe it's, you know, moved around trees. Maybe those trees are some of the trees that aren't going to make it. I know we heard that there were some that weren't going to make it. But I don't think we should give up on it. If it proves insurmountable, then people can come back and ask us to change it. But I think that our standard should be to have a fence along there separating this property. I personally think it'll make it a much nicer and more pleasant environment for the people living in that proposed development. So I'm going to stick with my proposed amendment.
Thank you. Sorry, whose project is this? Is this Ms. Hernandez, this project? Yeah, it is. Is she online? Ms. Hernandez, can you please comment on Mr. McGrath's comments about tree loss on the property line if we did install a fence there or required a fence?
Thanks. To the mayor, I guess through the chair to the mayor. So we've worked with the applicant to try and maintain or retain that edge of the trees. There, we have an arborist report that says some of them potentially won't make it. Where they're still with the request for the wider statutory right of way, the building will have to be moved, and there might be a possibility to retain more of those trees than there previously was because of the location of the building and the underground parkade. So I'm sure that's where David is speaking to, the fact that now this building is moving, and so there's a possibility for retention. But if there's a fence at that property line, then we're once again at the area where we would be disrupting the root zone of those trees. So if we want tree retention and we want fence, those could be conflicting objectives. Further to that, the cross-section, the drawing that David's team put together to show what the ultimate width of that statutory right-of-way could look like to enable that pedestrian intent is that if you gain a 2.5 meter dedication on this property, the objective should be or could be in the future for us to gain an additional 2.5 meter dedication when the adjacent property currently occupied by the courthouse redeveloped, so that ultimately the width of this path is that 5 meter width with benches and the trees in the middle, so providing kind of like coverage and canopy and enhancing that pedestrian experience. So I think David's submission speaks to a larger appeal for that pathway into the future. But I can see if the expectation of council is that these 2.5 meter statutory right-of-ways to function as the ultimate width of the path, then we may be talking about fencing. The property, the courthouse already has an existing fence, so that they are already fencing their own property for security purposes and privacy reasons, and the trees enhance that, I'm gonna say, buffer between that courthouse, back end of the courthouse and this property.
Thank you for the answer. So with those comments, I won't be supporting the motion this evening. I would much rather see trees than a fence. And if it's one or the other, then I would choose that. I'm comfortable with allowing the developer to make the decision if it's best for his property for the fence. And so I will be not supporting the motion this evening.
Yeah, we're getting sort of new and somewhat conflicting information here this evening. I move we refer this to the next council meeting to give us time to get the information that apparently is floating around out there and make a more informed decision.
Thank you. Do I need a seconder for a referral? I do. Okay, seconded by Councillor Day. There's no discussion on the referral, correct? Correct. There is no discussion, correct? Correct. Okay, I will call the question. Those in support of sorry, yes, thank you. In support. So I have Councillor Baxter Day. I'm in support. Yes. Sorry, in support of the referral. Councillor Baxter, Day, Kobayashi, Parkinson, opposed. Councillor Kobayashi, or excuse me, Councillor Logan and Martin. It is referred. So that will take us to 6.3, which was, excuse me, 6.4, which was 6.3, which is the sewer connection review. This is a recommendation from the April 4th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting. May I have a mover and seconder for the record? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Baxter, seconded by Councillor Day. Discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. Thank you. And that takes us to bylaws. Bylaw 7. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry, Councillor Kobayashi.
I don't think we got proper closure on 6.2. Did we?
It's a referral, so we can't talk about it anymore.
The whole thing is a referral. Oh, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jansen, my apologies. I did not count you when I was counting on 6.2. Were you in favor of the referral or were you in opposition? Not that it matters. Well, it does matter. I shouldn't say it that way. We do care, but it wouldn't have changed the vote. Were you, Councillor?
I was in favor of the referral.
You were in favor of the referral. Okay, please have that noted. Okay, this takes us to bylaws. Now, this is 7-point law 1, bylaw number 1912, land use amendment CD 32 791 Drummond Way. This is for adoption. Moved by Councillor Parkinson, seconded by Councillor Logan. Discussion? Seeing none. So, can you just refresh me where you are on the agenda? We are on 7.1 bylaws. And I'll wait. Good. So I do have a mover and seconder. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. Moving on to bylaw number 1916, land use bylaw amendment. This is for the off-street parking. This is for first and second reading. Do I have a mover and seconder for first and second? Moved by Councillor Baxter. Why am I getting stuck with people's names today? I do not know. Councillor Parkinson seconded. Discussion. Councillor Day.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, I won't be supporting the off-street parking regulations changes because the changes are all related to reducing the amount of parking that's required. And I think that is not what our community needs. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Parkinson.
Thank you. And just slightly off topic, but we all know that sitting at this table requires a whole breadth of skills and knowledge, and I recognize I'm lacking in a lot of areas. But there was one today I was suffering with, and I went to staff, didn't get any help. So here's the deal. I've got a bottle of wine here for the best explanation of the difference between, in section 5, remove notwithstanding section 2.204 and replace with notwithstanding the off-street parking regulations, and another one where it says remove despite section 2.201 and replace with despite the off-street parking regulation. I have no idea what the difference is between notwithstanding and despite. So I won't take up council or staff's time, but if anybody can give me an explanation, I got a bottle of wine for the best explanation.
I will look to our acting CAO. Do you have an answer? It's okay if you don't. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Is there any other discussion on this? Seeing none, I will call the question. Those in opposition? Councillor Day and Kobayashi opposes. Just checking with Councillor Jansen. Looks you didn't put your hand up, so that motion passes. Moving on to 7.3, bylaw number. I'm sorry, Councillor Day. Okay. Moving on to bylaw number 1920, Colwood Main Sewer LAS enlargement for 502 Ridley Drive. This is for adoption. Moved by Councillor Kobayashi, second by Councillor Baxter. Discussion? Seeing none. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. Councillor Logan, can you just keep an eye on Councillor Jansen if he ever puts his hand up? No. Moving on to 7.4, bylaw number 1925. This is Colwood Main Sewer LAS enlargement for 3323 Wishart Road. This is for first, second, and third reading. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Jansen.
Thank you to my babysitter.
Thank you. Thank you. Second by Councillor Kobayashi. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. Moving on to 7.5, bylaw number 1926, Colwood West Sewer LAS enlargement for 3223 Wishart Road. This is for first, second, and third reading. Moved by Councillor Baxter, second by Councillor Logan. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. Moving on to 7.6, bylaw number 1927, Colwood Main Sewer LAS enlargement for 3504 Wishart Road. This is for first, second, and third reading. Moved by Councillor Baxter, seconded by Councillor Jansen. You're supposed to be keeping an eye on him. Discussion? None. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. I've already lost my, was that 7.6 or 7.7 did I just do? I just did, I'm on 7.7 now. Thank you. 7.7, bylaw number 1928. Colwood South Sewer LAS enlargement for 3504 Wishart Road. This is for first, second, and third reading. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Kobayashi, second by Councillor Baxter. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. Moving on to 7.8, bylaw number 1929, Colwood Main Sewer LAS enlargement for 3508 Wishart Road. This is for first, second, and third reading. Moved by Councillor Baxter, seconded by Councillor Logan. Discussion? Seeing none, call the question. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. Moving on to 7.9, this is bylaw number 1930, Colwood South Sewer LAS for the same address. Thank you for second and third reading. Moved by Councillor Kobayashi, second by Councillor Baxter. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. 710, bylaw number 1931, Colwood Main Sewer S for 3512 Wishart. First, second, and third reading. Moved by Councillor Baxter, second by Councillor Logan. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. 711, bylaw number 1932, Colwood South Sewer LAS for 3512 Wishart. First, second, and third reading. Moved by Councillor Baxter, seconded by Councillor Logan. Councillor Jansen, we'll give it to Councillor Jansen. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in opposition? Motion to adjourn. Councillor Logan. Those in opposition? Nobody opposes. Thank you, everybody. Whew. Where did Jen go?